I think one of the most powerful spiritual lessons I ever heard was on an episode of Will and Grace. I've shared it before, but it just is so powerful for us. Grace asked Karen, her wealthy but bored assistant, to do something for her. And Karen's response was, "Oh, honey, I'm afraid I can't do that." And Grace said, "Why?" And Karen said, "Because I don't want to." And so it is. And so it is. That's the end of it. Do you have a hard time saying no?
Yes.
No.
There's always one. Oh, good. You can help me do this talk then. Share with us. No, a lot of us do. A lot of us have a hard time. I find it hard to say no. And I've been working with this no thing for a while. It's a problem that can get in the way of not only our daily living, but our spiritual growth. As a spiritual being, we have the power to say what we want. Except when it comes to, very often, the saying no. A number of years ago, when the HIV/AIDS epidemic was at its peak, a mental health project discovered that one of the salient traits that most AIDS patients had in common was the inability to say no to other people. Fascinating. When we don't authentically share what we feel with others, when we are not truthful about what we want with others, the energy has to go somewhere. If the energy is not moving forward, what's happening? We're eating it up. And it's eating us up. And it churns, and we get health problems, we get so many different issues, so many different challenges in life when we are not being authentic in our truth. Saying no seems to be tremendously selfish to us, especially in our culture, in our American culture, and can make most of us even unnerved thinking about it. That response that Karen shared was so in line with the character that we laugh at what seems to be the ultimate selfishness, and at the same time we admire her chutzpah for being able to say exactly what we're feeling. No, I can't do that. Why? Because I don't want to. But a lot of us would never think to say that out loud to anyone. Well, let me ask you, can you say no to your family when they make an unreasonable request of you? Or when it's hard for you to do what they're asking you? Can you actually say, no, I'm not able to do that? Can you say no to your children when they are putting you in a bind? I'm not talking about children. I was like, a 4-year-old, I'm hungry. So what? No. Go feed yourself. No, we're talking about teenage and adult children. Are you able to say no to perfectly capable adult children? Can you say no to your friends when they ask you to do something that might put your finances or even your health at risk? No, I love my friends, but no, that's not the question. Can you say no when it does not work for you? Can you tell somebody that they made inappropriate comments to you? Can you question your doctor about treatments that just doesn't seem right? Something in your gut saying, no, doctor, can we talk about this? This is not setting in my gut right here. Do you have a hard time asking for simply what you deserve, what you need, or just desire in life? Why don't we say no more? Or no more? Why do we have such a difficult time saying this does not work for me in my life? We're afraid that in saying no, we're going to be rejected. We're afraid of disappointing somebody, of hurting their feelings, of appearing to be unfriendly, unfeeling, or unkind, or having somebody have a negative opinion of me. God forbid. So in order to help maintain some kind of positive image in their minds, we say and do things that we don't want to do. And what happens is we lose ourselves, bit by bit, day by day, year by year. Parts of us just drain away when we are not being authentic when we're not sharing truth. We learn early in life that when an adult or an important person asks you to do something, you do it. Remember, do not ask questions. If an adult says something, you do it, especially in the family or somebody who is an authority figure. A friend of mine shared with me that his mom visited here in New York twice a year from somewhere in the Midwest or somewhere. One of those places. And she would come and she would totally redo his place. She would redo the linen closet, she would redo the spice rack, and he let her. And I said, why do you allow that to happen? He says, well, it was easier than telling her mom, this is my house. Go do your own. I said, do you do hers? Oh, God forbid. No, of course not. It was perfect. It's there. She said, well, it's just easier. It's just easier than saying no. So, in this person's mind, and in a lot of our minds, we become ungrateful, we become belligerent, or rude, or unlikable, or selfish when we say no, and nobody wants to be like that. We want to be seen as being agreeable, and spiritual, and loving. So when we don't say no, when we say yes all the time, it's like, oh, what a great person. And we're being fed in that way, but we're being diminished in so many other ways. We end up rejecting and shutting ourselves because we ended up speaking up for ourselves, and we wouldn't know what to do with that. Tell mom to leave the closets alone. This is the way I like it. Thank you, Mom. I love you too, but no. No. Sit. Stop doing that. Many years ago, a woman came to me for counseling because she had a hard time saying no to anyone. She would always say yes and feel terrible and kick herself for saying, I didn't want to say yes, but I did. She wanted to learn, how do I do this? How do I say no when I don't want to do something? I shared with her, to say no honors what you need. To say no honors you. To say no reflects the ability to take care of your life. To say no says, I matter too. What I think, what I feel, what I say, and what I do matters. And it has to be okay. If it isn't okay with you, then I'm not okay. But it matters to me, and that's the important thing. This woman had extreme low self-worth. I mean, she was the quietest little mousy thing you'd ever seen in your life. I could barely hear her, even in counseling. I was sitting right next to her. I said, you've got to speak up. I really can't hear what you're saying. And she began to use that affirmation I gave you. What I think, feel, say, and do matters. It matters. I said, begin speaking it really loud. She had a hard time doing it, but eventually she got up to speed. And I said, and the next time anybody asks you to do something you don't want, you say, no, I am not doing that. Period. No, I am not doing that. I want you all to say that with me. No, I'm not doing that. Did you get nervous?
No.
Yeah, a little bit, maybe a little? Yeah. No, I can't say that. And we have so many different reasons. I don't want to be unloved. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be thought of anything as anything less. So she began affirming it, and her family members were not happy with her. I said, what cult are you involved with that makes you say no to us? How rude. Who are you? We don't even recognize you anymore. The more she said it, the more they just gave up and they began to do their own thing. And what happened was, within a month, they began treating her differently. They began treating her as an equal member of the family. Because she said, this is what I am doing, and this is what I'm not doing. I love you all, but no. No. If she can do it, you can do it. When who you are matters enough to you, others will treat you accordingly. When you matter enough, what you say, what you think, what you feel, just being you, when you know it matters enough, the world around you will change. When you honor the God self you are, others will honor that as well. Saying no is divine. Saying no is a divine denial. Saying yes is a divine affirmation. They're both affirmations. One's just a little, the energy's just a little different. But they're both saying, I matter, and I'm worth it, and this is going to happen in my life. In our New Thought philosophy, denials are a form of powerful affirmation that we declare as unacceptable or no longer allowed in my life because this is not working for me. You have the power to call your life exactly as you want it. Kimberly sang a song by one of Celia's songs that she came through this wonderful spiritual journey. This is who I am. I'm beautiful and I'm worth it. And we respond to that because we recognize that, not only in the character, we recognize that in ourselves. We're beautiful and we desire and we deserve to be treated just like everybody else. Divine denials aren't forced. They're not forced. They are gentle. Gentle but firm. We're not using them to fight anybody. We're simply stating our truth in a loving, firm, but clear manner. I will not be abused by anyone anymore. End of story. I will not accept mistreatment by employers. Not going to happen. I will not be considered my family's free housekeeper anymore. Not going to happen. There was a woman one year, she went to a counselor, a friend of mine, and she said, I'm so unhappy with my family. I hate cooking, and I feel resentful that I have to cook dinner for these people. Again, they were older. They were, older teenagers and above. She said, I cooked for them. I did my duty when I was younger. I don't want to do it anymore. And the minister said, tell them. I can't do that. She said, you have to do that. So she went home, she called a family meeting, and she sat them all down. She was very nervous. She said, I'm not cooking anymore. And they went, thank God. Oh, thank God. And so everybody got their own meal. Everybody was very happy doing what they do, and she went off to an art class. When you affirm who you are and what you will do and what you will not do, it works for everybody. Because you're getting clear about what that is. I will not be taken advantage of. I will not be taken for granted by my mate. Sometimes you do something, you've been in a relationship for a long time, you do it just because it's easier than arguing, but you really don't like to do it and you feel resentful of it. You need to talk about that. And say, I've done this for 25 years, I don't want to do it anymore, or let's take turns. Because it has to be done. But if you don't talk about it, nobody knows. If you do not share what you're feeling, they are not mind readers. You must share what you're feeling and get clear about what it is that you need. I am not a built-in babysitter for my grandkids. Ow. Ow. You're not. You're not. You love your grandkids and they'd be happy to look after them once in a while or start getting paid for it. But that's not a contract that was handed to you when the child was born. You have a right to say, I love my grandkids, and here's the way it's going to be for me. You are a valuable and loved creation of spirit, and only you can decide what is right for you. No one else can decide what your life is. We heard earlier, Louis shared our elder brother's teachings. You are the salt of the earth, you are the light of the world. But when we give our power away, we lose ourselves. We lose our power. This is the huge spiritual truth we really need to own and understand. We lose our light. We lose that wonderful, shining soul that we are. We lose our saltiness when we let other people decide who we are. We lose ourselves when we're not clear about our boundaries. No, this will not happen. Yes, I'm happy to help you here. No, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do this. And yes, I'm here for you in this situation. Happy to do that. You don't have to give a reason. Do we understand that? You don't have to give a reason. You're not wanting to do it is enough. No, that is not going to happen. Oh, why? Because it's not going to happen. Why? Because it's not going to happen. You do not have to elaborate. You don't. Now, if it's someone you live with, perhaps you want to. Perhaps it'll make it a little easier. Or to, whatever your soul is telling you is right. But you don't have to have a reason. Like Karen Walker, that wonderful Reverend Karen Walker. Oh, honey, I don't want to do that. Fine. Get clear within yourself. Be direct and speak your truth simply. I am not able to do this. I do not wish to do this. I am not comfortable doing this. Thank you for inviting me to do this, but it does not work for me. That is more than enough. And it has to be. You don't owe anybody an explanation. And sharing as much as you like regarding your decision with compassion and kindness. It isn't about being mean. It's not about being rude. It's just about sharing your truth. And when you're sharing your truth, we don't have to be defensive. Just say, well, that's not going to happen. But thank you for asking. I appreciate it. I love you. I'm going to the movies now. Bye. Or whatever it is you need to do. In her book, My Answer is No, How Women Can Say No and Feel Good About It. Great title. Writer and Harvard Medical School professor Nanette Gatrell shares that she tried to interview many women about their power to say no, and she was shocked at how many of them said no. She talked to hundreds of women, or tried to, and she got a number of responses back. She said some were really nasty no's, some were loving no's, and some were wishy-washy no's. It was really interesting to see the variety of how people turned her down in that way. She said some told her no in ways that were so genuine she felt good about being denied. One university professor wrote to her, I'm sure your book's going to be really helpful, but I'm deeply enjoying my sabbatical. So I must say no. Best of luck. Now, a meaner no came from a therapist. That happens. Who wrote, I don't want to do an interview. Your book sounds too baroque. The doctor said, I told my friend that what this woman said. She said, well, at least she didn't call you Rococo. So I just found that a very interesting response. We don't have to be mean. We just have to say, well, here's my truth. A museum president wrote back, your project is clearly fascinating and very valuable. I regret I'm in the awkward position of proving your point, which is, I must say, I am indeed a woman who can say no when I have to. But I look forward to reading your book when it's complete. Love. A friend of mine auditioned for a show years ago. And she said the director, who was Tommy Walsh, who was in the original chorus line. And she said, he called that night and said, I just have to tell you, you're one of the most talented, most wonderful lights I've ever seen perform. You were just so wonderful. And I just felt so great watching you perform. I don't have a role for you in this show, but I'm looking forward to working with you one day when the right role comes up. She said, I felt better than if he offered me a job. I just felt I was flying for a week from that turn down. That was the best rejection I ever had. Because he was affirming truth about her. So, as Jesus said, let your yes be yes, and let your no, no. He said, anything more comes from error thinking. And it becomes muddled. And we become unclear, and that's when the trouble begins. If you aren't clear in what you're saying, the universe can't bring your good. If you're not clear, if you're kind of, then the universe, we're sending all these different signals out, and then we get the result of that. Compassionate communication is key not only for others to know what we're saying, but for ourselves. We have to be compassionate and loving and kind in our dealings with others and with me. So if somebody wants to, can I borrow some money? You might say, you want me to lend you money for this project, but I'm not able to do that. I can hear the excitement you have for it, and I'm holding good thoughts for you. You're going to be very successful, I'm sure. But I'm not able to help you out in this way. Here's a spiritual sidebar to that. Do not lend money if you don't have it to lend. You hear that? If you do not have it to lend, do not lend it. If you do, make sure that you are able to be without it for longer than they said they were going to pay it back. If they say, I'll give it to you within 6 months, it could be a couple of years. And you have to be okay with that, or you may lose a friend or a family member. So if you know that you cannot do that, you just share, I know you need the money, but I'm not able to lend it to you, period. I love you, and I know this is going to turn out fine. It just is not in order for me to do that. Also, prevaricating and making stuff up gets complicated and really unnecessary. You want to give more information. Oh, I wish I could, but, well, if I had it, I'd give it to you maybe later. No! Not maybe later. Don't build anybody's hopes up because you want it to make yourself feel better. Be honest, be brief, and be okay. Be honest and brief and be okay with it. You have to. Just as it is. I am not able to do that. Saying no is healthy because it clarifies your needs, it tells the others what's going on with you, and it lessens your anxiety and stress. Get clear. Be very, very clear. Now, sometimes, I'll say all the time, it's good to pray and meditate on the answer. I mean, if you don't immediately, then you say, yeah, the money's not available to do that, so I'm not able to do that. But if somebody says, for example, can you help me move this weekend? Allow Spirit to reveal, can you? Is this something that could happen? Is it a request that you may want to fulfill? If yes, commit to it 100%. If no, commit to that 100%. Whatever it is you're committing to, so say, I will do that, I will be there. Or not. Remember, decision means to make a choice. And to cut out other options. As I mentioned a few weeks ago, decision and scissors come from the same root word. And so a wishy-washy no doesn't work for anybody. I might help you move, I'll try to be there. If anybody says, I'll try to do anything, you know they're not going to show up. That doesn't happen. If they say try, you know the whole Yoda thing. There is no try. You either do it or you don't. Commit to doing it. I'll see if I can, but just say no. Just say no. I cannot do that. I love and appreciate you, but I'm not able to do that. Affirm what works for you and release what does not. And most importantly, divine beings have the right to say what is important to them and what is not appropriate for them. But again, we say it with love and respect for ourselves and the other person. We're not being defensive about it. Even if they keep nattering at you, just keep centered in your own love and your own truth. One woman shared with Dr. Cottrell that her parents' 30th anniversary was coming up, and it was a tradition in their community to throw a lavish and expensive party for an important anniversary. She and her sister did not have the resources to do so, to pay for such an elaborate bash, and they couldn't find a way to say no, so they went to the doctor to figure out how they could do that. They were worried that their parents would be hurt and embarrassed, and that the community would call them good for nothing or worse. They were advised by the doctor to speak their truth to their parents, no matter what happened to be their authentic self, and say, here's why we can't, we can't do this, and here's why. They approached their mom about it first, and they told her what was going on, and the mom said, well, it's your dad who wants it, not me. I'm happy with whatever. They went to talk to their dad after. He says, well, it's your mom who wants it, not me. I'm happy with whatever. Nobody was talking. Nobody was communicating. So when they went and said, they went, oh, sure, of course. Whatever, however we celebrate it will be great. So they had a small dinner, for close friends and families, and then they saved up for 5 years, and on their 35th anniversary, they sent them on a cruise, which was, they said, even better. So when you're sharing, here's what I can do and here's what is not working for me, then everybody will be happy because you're being clear. Speak your truth. You deserve to live in peace. You deserve to live in love and abundance and in your joy at all times, as much as possible. Again, today, begin today, let your yes be yes and your no's no. Say, here's what I can do. Here's what I don't want to do. Here's what works for me. So your assignment, I have a little assignment for you this week. Today, you're going to tell at least one person your truth. If the waiter brings something and it's not right, you're going to say, excuse me, would you bring this back? This is not right. This is not warm. This has glass in it. Whatever is happening with the thing that you don't like, say thank you very much. Or you talk to a friend, your friend wants to do something and you don't want to do it, say, that sounds really interesting, but that's not something I want to do today. And let it be okay. Feel the fear and say it anyway. So you're going to have an opportunity today to share a truth. It's up to you as a child of God to say, I deserve to do what I want to do. So this is what's going to happen for you. It's really okay. You can speak your truth. You're a child of God. So take a breath, close your eyes.